Well then, welcome back to A Splash of Paint, brought to you in association with the SAA. Now it's time to rejoin SAA professional artist Jan Gardner for the final part of today's Try Your Hand At project, where she concludes her vibrant voyage into the colourful world of mixed media.
Hello, welcome back. I now can show you how the initial piece has bedded down into the paper. The colours are lying into the granules and the granulation of the paper, and I've also started to remove some of the masking fluid that you saw earlier, so that's giving us some sort of definition lines, and I'll just demonstrate that. It very much is a very gentle process of peeling the lovely liquid rubber that is now solidified, which is what we've got from this bottle here. What I'm also going to do now is show you how to rip up some collage paper, having made some, and how we're going to place it on here, and then I'm going to add that surface to this surface, and again add marks to that. So it's very much about making intense, dense colours work and sing together, and have this rich foliage in the foreground and less dense colours and marks in the distance. So if I start by showing you initially how to do that, just using a really nice little pot of Ocaldo PVA, and it can be that you can use acrylic under this, but for this process, for today, I'm just going to show you how to use your the glue and the paper. So we're very much coating that, and we're going to make a decision where to place it. Obviously, a good idea to place it onto an area that has not got the blue masking fluid still to be taken off. So I'm really just gently pressing it into the depth of this range of colour here. And I'm going to also do these little pieces here, using little measuring pots here, which is very useful for small amounts of the PVA glue. So I'm adding, and what you've got then is this collage paper that I've made with Atelier acrylics, and I'm literally ripping them up and placing really nice contrast colours onto the surface behind. Some large solid pieces of colour onto the background of the foliage. And I've got a little bit of a pathway here being suggested, so I'm going to just get these little pieces on as well so that we can see what we're formulating. And I have got a bit of the blue masking fluid there, so I'll pull that off later, but that's removed. So I'll just get that completely away. Oops. And then add to it. And there we are. So we've got some nice flat areas now, and move that to one side. And I'm going to have a look now at the areas that I want to really bring a bit more depth and decoration to, because that's really what I'm about. I really love this mark making process and all the colours getting definition. So to begin with, I think I'm going to go in with my favourite brush, the 1-inch, lovely flat 1-inch brush, and I think we'll just get into some more colour into this area here. So I've got the Atelier acrylics, which wet up beautifully, because once it's been a little bit damp, just add to it. So I'm just adding that another rich surface with that lovely depth of colour. I'm just going to get a bit more of that Atelier acrylic up here as well, to get a bit more definition over here. And the beauty of the lines is that you can keep them very much part of it, but you can actually just allow them to fade into the background as well. And I'm just joining those colours up, so you've got this lovely distancing up here. And I'll just add a little bit more of this lovely ultramarine just on that top bit there. So just get my handy spray, which is what this has been designed for, which is a wonderful thing. So we've just moistened up that Atelier acrylic, and we're just giving it that bit more depth up there. Yes, indeed. So, very soft process. Now the next area I want to come back down to, so I'm coming right down the picture, we've got a lot of fluid, smooth shapes up here, a lot of depth here. I'm going to get hold of my FW inks and just get some more definition in here. So I'm really just adding the beautiful tool of the actual squeeze. The little tip of the bottle itself, it's a brave tool, but it actually has a very good effect, because what you can do is just meander, making these lovely marks right around, on top of, inside. And I'm going to do the same with the purple up on the path. So we're just going to have a look at how we can just suggest a little gentle line around the path and up and down. It's very free, very organic, and it's very enjoyable. I'm going to make it tiny, tiny bit damp, tiny bit damp, tiny bit damp, tiny bit damp, and just very gently suggest that. And then get another brush, which is your very fine, well, it's not that fine actually, it's one of the number ones, detailer of the same range as the 1-inch SAA silver brushes. So it gives that lovely easy line. And I'm just pulling that across some of this lovely orange, so you've got this purple against the orange, which is giving you a bit more interest and depth in the foreground. Okay, so sorry, I'm not looking at the camera now. I'm getting, there, I've still left some of this masking fluid on, because I think that is going to look really nice against the green, against the purple that's coming into the path here. I'll just take some of this depth here, adding to this. It's really moving that density into the foreground now. And then what we've got here is a sort of marrying of shapes, although this is the path and that's the floral area. So what we can do is start to introduce another mark so that you've got some different definition going on. And what I'm tempted to do now is give this, as it's a kind of Glan Conway Breeze title, I'm going to just give a little suggestion of some little variation of tone and mark. So we've got this going on here. I'm happy with that. And so what we've got then is this wonderful brush and the other smaller, finer brush again, and going into something like, it's the lemon yellow of the Sonelia watercolour, and I'm just offering some really nice little lines going in there to suggest this wavering grass. Just little intonations of change of mark and change of surface. So we've got a lot of contrast. Just breaking into this mid area so that we can join these areas up. Really enjoyable. And what I will do as well, I'll show you some pen work, because that would be really useful for you to see how you can introduce dip pen. I'm liking the fact that you've got a lot of rich foliage with a lot of hot colours, warm colours happening, and I've got this little almost a little gateway suggested in the mid-ground. So I'm going to actually link that with a really nice, almost a sea green, dark green, but it's in the lovely areas of North Wales. We get lots of wrought iron gates that make really nice shapes against the background. And I might just get a thin brush and add to the line as well. I'm going to use a bit of purple. That's it. So for me, last little point is going to be some of these marks along the path. And this is the dip pen dipped into the lovely green FW ink, brilliant green. And then a tiny bit of introduction that we've just got time for, which is a little bit of the Inktense pencils, which give you a nice line on top of that acrylic that we've just washed into. So you're really getting this lovely variation of line and mark. And that's happening really nicely down here. A bit more vibrant colour as we come to the foreground. And then I'm just going to suggest a little bit of, it's not quite dry yet, but what I'm really liking, what I tend to do as a final thing, is just suggest that lovely line of unison pastel, which gives us this lovely softness in the distance. Okay, and that just suggests a really nice range of hills. Okay, just take some of that moisture off. Lifting off, that's great. Gives us that nice depth. Keeps the depth, but it actually gives a lovely contrast as well. That's fantastic. Just a lovely little undulation of pastel again. While the paper's still wet, it's quite nice to just suggest that, because it will absorb into the paper, which is fab. Just like that. And no one ever thinks, oh, pastel. Why are you wetting it? Well, it just has that lovely extra texture to the paper, and it brings all those lovely tones together in a soft way. So there we are. So what we've got here is a picture that I've used from a sketch that suggests places that I go to. It's actually an area in North Wales. It's suggesting this undulation of colour in the distance in the background with watercolour and the lovely atelier acrylics. And I've also mapped out in the masking fluid where I want certain areas. It's got a very lush foreground. So we've got this pathway going through to the gate, and we've got all this floral colour in the foreground. And I think that, for me, is a really nice way of introducing you to mixed water-based media on this heavy paper and trying it with a very vibrant palette.
Fantastic use of colour, form and texture. Thanks, Jan. Hope that's fired up your imagination to experiment and discover the colourful world of mixed media. Okay, it's time for our final break now, folks, but join us in part 4 when the SAA film crew journeys to the Cumbrian Pencil Company in the heart of the Cumbrian countryside to see how their team of technicians have been creating innovative Derwent products since 1832. And now we're delving deep into the splashy paint postbag to solve a few more of your artistic dilemmas. I'll see you after the break.